Yeah, it's really strange, George. Here's a mineral water bottle from St. Louis 100 years ago. We put our water in this bottle, sent it all over the world.
St. Louis was actually famous for the mineral
water. Yeah, St. Louis is famous for the mineral water.
Why is there a tombstone in the middle of St. Louis, Michigan? More to the point, why is there a dangerous Superfund site surrounded by homes, restaurants, and stores in this small town? The site where the Velzacol Chemical Corporation once stood in St. Louis, Michigan, has a long history of major industrial contamination.
And one of the reasons we have such problems with contamination in the river and on the plant site and adjacent areas is that the company indiscriminately produced and promoted the use of DDT. Julius Hyman, their chief chemist, was the person who patented 5 of what I believe you'll know we call the dirty dozen now, the 12 persistent organic pollutants that are regulated under the Stockholm Convention.
Among its many negative environmental effects, the plant was at the center of one of the worst food contamination accidents in U.S. history.
The PBB actually went and got mixed with cattle feed, and for almost a year, cattle and hogs around Michigan were consuming PBB-laden feed.
Imagine you're a dairy farmer. Imagine one day you have to dig a trench and shoot every animal you possess.
People in St. Louis were surprised by the size, but not by the fact of the cattle feed accident. They knew that their neighbors and local government officials had complained about the plant for years.
The company was known, even at the time they were producing, as a company that wasn't very responsible. And the cattle feed mistake was just an inevitable result of the way they operated.
Why didn't regulators do something about Velzacol? In part, it was because the company was well connected, and it was prepared to use its connections and its threats to take away jobs from the community in order to get its way. It is instructive to recall the response that Velzacol had to Rachel Carson's Silent Spring when it first appeared in serial form in the New Yorker in the summer of 1962.
Velzacol, one of the largest chemical companies, claimed Carson had lied about 2 of its products.
After the cattle feed contamination mistake, Velzacol agreed to shut down the St. Louis plant in exchange for protection from future liability. Residents were assured that contamination was contained on the plant site and that neither the surrounding water nor land was contaminated. These reassurances were found to be wildly, even dangerously overstated. In the 1990s, the EPA admitted that the earlier attempt to contain the contamination to the plant site had failed, and that the river and surrounding land sites had to be cleaned up. Despite constant and insistent reassurance that it could never happen, contamination from Velzacol has now entered the municipal drinking water in the town of St. Louis. Multiple remediation efforts have been tried, and yet years later the problems remain. The site has a long history of failed political and technical remedies to these assaults on public health and safety. More troubling, the affected communities continue to be plagued by a lack of confidence in the decisions that have been made to address these problems. Agreement after agreement, proposed solution after proposed solution, reassurance after reassurance, nothing yet has produced the desired effect of making the community members feel safe in their homes.
I think probably one of the things that I want to say is the economic vitality of any community can be measured directly by the community's ability to provide a sense of community or a sense of place. A place where people want to live, work, and play. It's very difficult to get rid of that stigma of being what is referred to by one of our major newspapers in the state as the toxic town. You just cannot create that good sense of place for the community.
What does the community want?
just logically, we all knew that the contaminants were coming from that plant site. Basically an illegal landfill that EPA allowed to happen in our town, that we want to see it go away. We want to see that those contaminants removed from that site, right in the heart of our community, on this river that flows into, basically into the bay and Lake Huron.
What does the community want?
I don't know. Obviously, we'd be more recreational oriented. Might even have a tourist issue going on where people might have cottages built along the river and come up here to fly fish for the trout.
What does the community want?
And they still don't have a plan to get the thing cleaned up. You know, you and me talked about going to a concert at an amphitheater out there that's proposed. Well,
in our wheelchairs, but I think it's going to be past that
We're
point.
they'll probably be spreading our ashes out there at the first concert from, you know, because it's just not going to happen as soon as it needs to.
What does the community want? It wants EPA to do the job that should have been done in 1982. It wants the job that was begun years later to produce the intended result of removing environmental and health risks. It wants the sites of contamination completely removed. It wants clean, safe water. It wants the site of its homes, schools, and churches to be cleaned. And it wants real protection for its children and its future.
It's important to people that the plant site be cleaned up. Actually, my personal opinion and of many people in the CAG is they should dig it all up and get it away from the river. Even if they bury it somewhere else in Gratiot County, it's insane to have it by a moving body of water. And then say, well, we'll give you another 30 years, and then another 20 years, they'll be back having to clean up again.
I see no reason to think any current plans are particularly better than what were done in 1978 to 82. Those plans were fatally flawed because we let a lot of contaminants stay on site and near a river with no way to absolutely be certain we're going to keep the contaminants on site and keep them from migrating.
The community is not naive. It knows that money is a concern. But it also knows that the health and safety and future prosperity of its members is of ultimate concern. But there must also be no doubt that all that has been done will have been done for nothing if the job is not complete. There's no doubt that much has been done to address the contamination of the Pine River watershed in central Michigan. The job simply isn't finished. It is time now to do what must be done and spend what must be spent in order to undo the damage that is now much more extensive than it was even in 1982. It is time now to do the right thing for the people and the environment of these communities. Not long after remediation efforts began, Shannon Finnegan, a student at Alma College, conducted a series of interviews with residents. These interviews captured not only the frustration, but the hopeful optimism of community members for a healthy and prosperous future.
It's going to take us a while to recover. But I said, I feel like St. Louis is sort of like the phoenix. We will raise him. And I've been very fortunate to be able to watch it.
The residents of St. Louis sincerely hope one day that we will be able to use that 52-acre parcel of property in the center of our community for recreational purposes, perhaps an amphitheater for open-air performances, a park space where people could fish and enjoy the natural beauty of the Pine River. And those types of things were envisioned by the plant site reuse plan that was funded by U.S. EPA. And we hope that one day our residents will be able to see that vision come to reality.
Once the work of cleaning up the plant site is complete, the community plans to place the tombstone in the St. Louis Historical Museum as an artifact from its past. Meanwhile, the community envisions the landscape of the future. To make their hopes and dreams more concrete, they place their own monument at the gates of the plant site. On the granite bench are the words, "We declare our mutual aim that our river and land be restored to their natural condition, safe for any use." Signed, City of St. Louis and Pine River Superfund Citizen Task Force.